Welcome to another edition of Today's Entrepreneur, inspiring stories from outstanding business people. Dan Delmar and Mike Newton with you this afternoon. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Dan. How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you?
Very good, thanks.
Today on the program, we're talking about social entrepreneurship, and we're going to be speaking with Maxime Morin, the co-founder of Rose Buddha. Maxime is an actress, former TV radio personality. She went into business on her own in this athleisure business, athletic leisure, clothing, leggings, accessories, stuff like that. All eco-friendly, all ethical, and fair trade. So really interesting business. Maxime Morin joins us in a little while. We'll talk to my colleague, actually. Sometimes we have our colleagues at our firm, TNKR Media, talking about PR, content, and related issues. So my friend Christopher Paré is on the program today. Chris, if the name sounds familiar, used to be the producer of the great Tommy Schnurmacher show here on CJAD, and he's also a skilled marketer. He worked for Humane Society after leaving CJAD for a while, so he's going to tell us some tips and tricks to get involved in good causes with your business. But first, Mike, as usual, thought leadership, and we'll get to some stories. But first, talking about cause marketing and Maxime's project and how cause marketing is so central to her business. It brings up the topic, I think, of effective altruism, or EA. And I like this school of philosophy because it really, to boil it down, it tells people to simply do charity well. All you have to do is give away a bit of yourself, give away a bit of your time, your expertise, give away what you're good at. And to me, for companies that are thinking about, what can we do to help? What can we do to contribute? I just always say, if you can't come up with a good, catchy marketing campaign or something, just give away your time, give away your knowledge.
Yeah, you used I guess the proper term I look at it as altruistic integrity. At the end of the day, is you're going to get into something, you're going to contribute, whether that's dollars, whether that's time, whether that's product in kind. The reality is do it for the right reason. Don't do it because ultimately, at the end of the day, it looks really good in a marketing campaign. I think people see right through that, and I think we live in a world of insincerity on a daily basis. And I think if you're going to spend that time and that effort, give back. Do it properly. Do it with a purpose. Do it with your heart, and do it for a cause that you believe in. There's nothing worse than trying to get involved in something you don't believe in. You'll never commit to it properly.
Part of the show, I think, does follow the principles of effective altruism, and you guys have just been giving away your knowledge the whole time for this 13 years, which is why I love doing the show. It's the only sponsored content show that I do for this reason, because of your commitment, Mike and FL, to just giving away your knowledge. And that's something that people have only been coming around to lately. There wasn't a whole lot of sponsored content 13 years ago that was doing that kind of thing. So thanks again for taking that on.
Thank you for noticing. I mean, yeah, it's definitely something that, we've looked at over the years. And I go back with, when Josh and I got this off the ground, Josh Miller and I got this off the ground in whenever it was, 2008 or 9, or, the concept here was ultimately, at the end of the day, to try and to share the knowledge, but to share experience at the end of the day. And we all recognize that we all win from a coaching, mentoring, training environment if we can share stories and share an environment. And if you believe what you're talking about, then it makes sense. I mean, Marjorie and I have had this conversation when it comes to topics. If I don't believe in the topic that we're talking about, and especially when it comes to the thought leadership component, I just can't do it. I don't like to think that I'm going to go into a conversation faking it, because I just don't think that it sends the proper message at the end of the day. And the firm has definitely committed to trying to make our community better. And whether that's our team being involved in things, or whether it's the radio show, it's about sharing knowledge.
Yeah, I got to say, your marketing and so effective. And it helps people on radio shows like this. So it's a really great it's a great example for everyone. So anyway, I'm not going to keep flattering you guys. Moving on. Speaking of setting good conditions in your business for success, let's talk about coaching for a little bit. In this piece from entrepreneur.com, the 5 preconditions for effective coaching. I'll run through them quickly and ask for your comments, Mike. Goal orientation, good relationship between coach and coachee, having someone who's coachable, having someone who feels responsible, and having a collaborative mindset.
Yeah, this one I can go on for a couple of hours on, because I think there's a component here that is equally important, and that is twofold. One is the coaching side, so those that are providing coaching, but it's also the coachee, the individual on the other end who is receiving the coaching. If they are not invested in the process, what am I going to teach them? People have sat in school and looked at as teachers and have looked and said, there are some kids who just eat up the information. Other kids don't want to be there. How do you get them to learn? Well, how do you coach somebody that doesn't want to be coached? I coached my son's hockey team for over a decade. Got to tell you, you can pick out the kids that want to be coached versus those that don't want to be coached from the beginning. And that ability to break through, it doesn't mean you give up on them. Don't get me wrong. But what it does mean is it tailors the approach, and you have to come at it from a different perspective. And I think that, part of our society has become lazy. They expect to be coached. They don't expect to learn and coach themselves. And I think we need an equal buy-in from both in order for a proper coaching process to work in an organization.
This from the Forbes Business Council. Mike, what is the key leadership attribute, according to science, that is behind a healthy workplace culture?
Well, it's ultimately at the end of the day, there's got to be some kind of strength and confidence, and humbleness or humility are the keys here in terms of what we're looking at. I mean, it's very easy to stand up and pontificate. It's very easy to stand up there and separate yourself from everybody else. Making that connection with everybody that you're leading and who you're working with is a much more challenging effort than it is to talk to them, talking with them. And that involves obviously listening, communication, showing appreciation. The biggest one to me is being human and be relatable. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, this, if you're, none of the organizations should have an individual who sits in a glass tower and like I said, pontificates to the organization. You need to be in there. We've talked about rolling up your sleeves, getting into the trenches with your team. If you're not going to have humility, I just don't see how you get ultimate buy-in and respect.
This is from the author Chad Chu of Australia, who did the study. Team leaders must understand the true impact of humility, as it can have a huge impact on the well-being and productivity of their team. Embrace it, and you will thrive.
100%. Humility is going to go front and center on everything. And you need to be confident, and you need to be assertive, and But you know what? If you can't make a connection and you can't have that emotional intelligence component to what you're doing, you're just going to churn through employees. And we'll go back to the first part. Your coaching's not going to be so successful.
I want to talk about manager jargon for a little bit. It's kind of a fun little segment here. And I saw the story as well this week, and it's from Fast Company, 7 expressions that can kill employees' trust in managers. And they're very funny and very jargony, especially over email. We can talk about that, circling back and whatnot. I'm sorry that you feel that way is one. I didn't say that is another. It's company policy. I know we promised this to you, but sorry, I changed my mind. I need you in this role. Copy me on everything. What are some of those jargon things that you think we should avoid?
They sound like Jeopardy categories to me. Dan, I'll take, I'm sorry you feel that way for 200. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, again, this whole concept of how you relate to people and how people buy what you're saying to them. And, the moment you hide behind company policy, what does it mean? It means you either believe the company policy and are therefore promoting it, or you don't believe it and are therefore hiding behind it. Either way, it doesn't really sell to the employees. When I looked at it, I turned the 7 into 10 because a lot of these articles I send around our office and to partners and managers, and trying to bring up the EI quotient a little bit at the end of the day. And I added 3 that I find that I think we all live at the end of the day that are either trust or respect killers, and the remaining 3 are sending inconsistent messages. There's nothing worse than either changing your mind on an ongoing basis or giving 3 people 3 different messages. You don't think they're not going to talk to each other at the end of the day. Be assertive, not aggressive, and for a lot of people there's a fine line there. Some people think that in your face and being aggressive is being assertive and confident, and it's not. In some cases, it's just downright rude, and you certainly don't win respect by being aggressive. And the last one is don't burn bridges. And, we see this, across the board, whether that's internally by, upsetting somebody, if I'm a manager and I upset somebody in a way I'm dealing with things, it's going to come back to you at some point. And when you burn that bridge, somebody's not going to want to work for you.
Mike, what about over email? This is a concern for so many managers. It takes so much time, frankly, to write emails. I find myself making that joke. I'm the CEO, chief email officer, ha ha ha. But no, it really is. Are there any phrases that need to be in emails, especially to staff? The one that I can think of encouraging people to write from a PR perspective internally is, come see me if you have any questions. I learned that from actually CJD's boss a while ago. I found Chris is always so approachable, and I found that was a nice little trick. Come see me if you have questions.
Yeah, the problem I have with email is a lot of people hide behind it. Those people would not have the same chutzpah if they were face to face with you as they would when they're writing an email. It's also very quick and easy to throw out a thought process and go, okay, think about it afterwards. Where if I'm coming to you to talk to you, I'm going to think through that exercise. And I think the big one, obviously, or the big problem remains tone and context. I think it's clear when I send an email that, I'm joking or I'm serious or I'm whatever it is. It's not always related that way. And we have not gotten to the point where the top of the email says, this is serious. Please pay attention, in the way we do it. So I think email etiquette is has taken a real big hit in COVID. As it became probably the biggest means of communication while everybody was working remotely. And as we know, we are not coming back 110% in the office. We are going to continue to have some kind of hybrid environment for a lot of professions. People are going to have to learn how to use email properly. And for something that's been around a long time, and for all the technological advancements and improvements we have made, we have yet to find that proper use of email and how that we do it. And like you said, leaving that door open where the communication after the email is, hey, you know what, if this wasn't clear, please feel free to ask me. If you don't know, if you're not sure about what my tone is, please ask the question. Don't go home and stew for the next 24 hours because you may have misread into it.
And Mike, we're taking on another fashion brand today, and this is a really interesting company that started from the ground up. I mean, really from scratch. Let's introduce our entrepreneur today. Maxime Morin is the co-founder of the clothing and accessory maker Rose Buddha. Maxime, welcome to today's Entrepreneur.
Hi, I'm very happy to be here today.
First question is the easy one. What is Rose Buddha?
What is Rose Buddha? Can you answer this question? Rose Buddha is an athleisure wear brand based in Montreal. And everything we make, we create, we try to create in respect of the planet and the people. So we use eco-friendly fabrics, and we are ethical in our way of, paying people. That's it. I'm looking for my words in English. I'm a little rusty, but that's it. So we're ethical and eco-friendly, and we're based in Montreal, and it's comfortable clothes for women, for yoga. That's pretty much it.
Maybe take the concept of ethical and eco-friendly. I mean, we've done this before on the show, but I think your angle here is probably a little bit different than everybody else. So, where did you start? Why did you start with that kind of eco-friendly? Was it a sustainable model? Do you see that as being the future? Maybe get into that a little bit for us.
When we started Rose Buddha, at the beginning, it was just a little project on the side. I was working as an actress, and the co-founder, Madeleine, was working as a host and a director. We're from the communication world, and we were also yoga teachers. So we wanted to create a product that we couldn't find on the market at the time. Almost 6 years ago, we wanted to have an eco-friendly product that would feel very comfortable and was also was cute, So we've created this legging just to have something for fun. We created 200 pairs of leggings. And I was thinking, my family is going to wear those leggings for 10 years. They're going to be stuck in my garage. And we'll have some leggings for a decade. But in 24 hours, we sold absolutely everything. So we realized that, okay, we have something. People are very eager to have an eco-friendly product. And why we decided to do it eco-friendly, it's just that I don't think if you are a business person and you have an idea, you want to create something, that you can put aside the eco-friendly subject. You have to think about the planet. We didn't want to put an extra, some more leggings on the planet. The planet doesn't need any, more leggings. There's Lululemon and there's other brands. So it was very important to us to create this product that was completely in close to our values. We're moms, and we want our kids to be able to live on this planet and to have kids that can live on this planet. So I think when you're an entrepreneur, you have the responsibility to create something that's gonna cause less harm.
Right.
Is that, yeah?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes
Definitely.
sense.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So
what does eco-friendly mean to you? What in terms of the products, in terms of the process, in terms of how you source?
We want to be the closer to home as possible. So where's the material from, the people we work with? So this is eco-friendly. Eco-friendly doesn't, it's not just planting trees. It's also where you make your clothes. So we make our clothes very close to home, and we use also materials that are either recycled, like recycled plastic bottle, or biodegradable. And more we're using natural fibers because it just makes sense. Because the shirt that I'm wearing right now is 100% cotton. So at the end of his life, if it's in a landfill, it's just going to decompose and no harm's going to be caused. But with something that is mixed with a lot of spandex or a mix of fibers, it's a lot harder to decompose.
You made a point that was very interesting one in the discussion of values. And this is something I think that we have watched an evolution of in terms of an entrepreneurial approach. Is over time, the values of an entrepreneur have changed. They've modified, they've morphed. People say they're good, they're bad. I'm not looking for an opinion. I guess the concept is values have changed. And I think it's key for an entrepreneur to bring their set of morals and values into whatever business they are. I mean, you brought in the, leave the world in a less harmful place than where it was before. What are some of the other values that you and your partner share that you look at every day and go, no, I just can't live if we don't do A, B, or C?
I can't live with myself, like knowing that someone that worked on our clothes from the thread to the end, to the consumer's hands, that somewhere someone got hurt or was underpaid or, was even stressed, like under too much stress. It can be, it's not just a third world problem. If the working conditions, even if it's here, are not good, I can't live with myself. I want the people that are working on our products to feel good and be comfortable working on this project. So, that's it, I think.
So your manufacturing process, then you're working, so you're talking about that. How do you do that here? How do you maintain those? It's nice to sit and draft a document with our morals and our exposures. How do you put that in play? How do you ensure that where are you manufacturing? What does the manufacturing setup look like? How do you maintain that goal that you have of those values and to put them into play?
We know every manufacturer. We've been there. Or if we haven't been there, we've talked with them, we've seen them. We go with certified manufacturers, certified materials, and we are always looking for the highest quality of manufacturers or fabrics. And, we don't put all our eggs in the same basket. Like, we work with different manufacturers, and we work with very, very small ones. Some women that there are, just a little group of women, a little community, and some big factories also. So we try to have, different points of confection of workers. I think this is also very important, and it's a relationship. The people we've been working from the, most of the people we're working with, we started working with them at the very beginning, 5.5 years ago. So we've built this relationship, and it's great because now if they have a problem, we can say, okay, we understand, it's good, half and half, we'll split the cost. And it's the same when we have a problem. So this relationship building is so important.
Are you having trouble with sourcing at this point, like everybody else is, or has that been?
Of course. When we heard that there could have a lot of problem finding some organic cotton or recycled polyester, say, okay, we need to buy a lot. So we bought a lot more fabric that we should have, but that we would have. And it helped us because also we work with very small manufacturers. We were able to be very responsive. So it's been a very good decision, I think, to also work with very small manufacturers and have something in the fridge that we can work with. That's how I see it. We always need, milk and butter in the fridge. So with milk and butter, it's like organic cotton and recycled polyester. We're good. We can create something.
Mike, let's get back to the business model, which I think is really interesting and certainly a lot of pressure on manufacturers these days.
Yeah, it's it's one of the things, Maxime, just before we broke for the break was the discussion of buying up supplies in advance, knowing that the supply chain could be problematic. I mean, in theory, it's a great statement. In practice, you got to come up with the money. So maybe give us a little bit of insight in how you guys started financially, and then where that's led with that ability, like you said, to make sure you've got butter and milk in the fridge to ensure you've got those staples available when you need them.
We started with absolutely no money. Like, at the time, I was kind of broke. I just had a baby. I was working as an actress and as a radio host also sometimes. And we started with like $200. Madeleine, the other co-founder, asked me, "Oh, do you have $200? We could, have this made. We can work with this designer, and it's going to cost like $400. Okay. So I got my $200, but it was a lot at the time. I remember I even forgot I didn't pay my electricity bill, and hydro was cut, so it's with a $200 here, another $200 there. And slowly we went from the idea to the finished product. But we started with a small quantity. We started with 250 leggings, and slowly we took our pennies, and at the end we could afford this 250 pairs of leggings, but we did everything else by ourselves. We're from the communication world, so we built our website, everything we did by ourselves. We wrote the, publicities. We took the pictures. We did absolutely everything. So it was cost effective because we did absolutely everything apart from, create the leggings. So when we sold them all, we took the money and bought some more. And this is how we started. It's like like doing Legos. It was building blocks, a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. We grew very, very fast, but every time we had the same strategy, like a little bit more at the time. So we never went to the bank for money because we used our own money.
Right. You auto financed from everything that was coming in. So where do you take that going forward? I mean, what is the goal for Rose Buddha? And are you looking at being local? Are you looking at focusing on a few products? Are you looking at going global? And how do you think that's going to change the business plan?
Oh, we're working on that today. Actually, we are thinking about opening one store. Probably that is going to be, that like this one Rose Buddha store, and opening to the rest of Canada for sure. We've been in Quebec only for the past years, mainly because we were always sold out. So every time we had made plans to go, out west or Toronto or Ottawa, we're sold out. So we're not going to invest in new markets because we're sold out. So now that we have inventory, we're more solid, we have a good team. Now we feel strong enough to open some new markets. And probably now, because we need a little bit more money to open some new markets, we're going to have to look at a way to finance those projects. But it's going to be a first for us to say, okay, let's go and get some money. Maybe not, but what we have in our heads, all the beautiful projects that we have, we're going to probably need a little bit of money for that. But we're still, natural growth is very important for us.
It's interesting. A lot of entrepreneurs have gone from one life to a completely different life, like you have, right? You've gone from acting and communications to manufacturing and selling a product. The big difference here is you can actually take the education that you had in the communications world and use it going forward. How do you think that's benefited you? And I would assume that gives you an advantage over a lot of people.
Oh, in a major way. I think just a product is a story. You need to tell a story around the product. A legging is a legging, a shirt is a shirt. But what's the story behind it? What's the story that the company is telling? So to create this lifestyle brand, I think we had an advantage because we knew how to tell stories and to write press release. It's also
right. Sure, it goes a long way. And first of all, if you're bootstrapping it and you're financing it yourself, you don't have to pay somebody else to do that. So that's also an advantage in that exercise. It's interesting because I look at one of my questions to you was going to be like, what separates you from the competition? And, is it, some people will say, well, it's style or it's material or it's, I listen to you and I think the differentiation really is a philosophical one and a values driven one as much as it is a product one.
Yeah, exactly. It's really, for us, to put women first is so important. To put the people first is so important. What we say is even the people who were working at Rose Buddha, it's almost a family. It's a philosophy. It's a way of life that we want to, inspire. We want to inspire our clients to live the Rose Buddha way, to take care of each other, to love yourself more, take care of the planet. It's holistic. It's very holistic.
Let's dig into that a little bit more. The work-life balance in Rose Buddha. What's it like to work for Rose Buddha, and how do you yourself incorporate that work-life balance into your own life?
Oh, that's a very good.
Especially with kids.
Oh yeah, I'm a mom. I have 2 kids, and one that is very, very active. The past years with the COVID and everything was not an easy one for work-life balance, and I'm not the only one who struggled, I'm sure. But what is important, and we wanted our employees also to understand how it's important to take care of yourself first. So to work for Rose Buddha, for myself, I try to have a very rigid schedule. Never to start before the kids are out of the house. Work very hard when they're out of the house, but when they come back from school, it's over. Maybe if I have to take a call or look at an email, when they're asleep, I'll do it. But I'm not going to work at night, and I'm not going to work when they're back from school, and I'm not going to work before they're gone. So this is really important, and I have to stick with that, or I'll lose myself completely. And that's what we want our employees to do also. Take care of themselves. If they need, a personal day, just say it. If you say, hey, I'm going to go to the spa today, I need to relax, like go get a massage, stay home, just, watch Netflix all afternoon if it's what you need. But listen to your need, take care of yourself, because no one is going to, do it for you. We are our first natural resource, if I can say. We're little small ecosystems, and we need to take care of this ecosystem.
And Dan, that's why you and I get along and do this show so well together, because it's not a question I ever think of asking when it comes into a work-life balance discussion. So we are very different philosophically, and I continue to learn that balance is important. And maybe before I retire, I'll figure out what that is.
But balance, a perfect balance, it doesn't exist. We're always off balance a little bit. But what's important is to notice when you're off balance. Say, okay, I'm off balance. It was too much in my work, or I didn't take care of the way I eat or whatever. It's too
right. And that goes back to the question we said earlier. What are the values that you bring into your business that are key to you, right? And that work-life balance for you and for your team is vital. Vital. And you can't push down a work-life balance if you don't believe it.
No.
Right.
No.
So it's part of setting the tone coming from the top.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We have to set the example. And I got sick. You can probably hear it in my voice, but I know why. It's because I was a little bit off balance in the past few weeks. I worked too much. We were stressed. It was a situation, and I got sick. I noticed, and now what I'm going to do to, find that balance again. We're very close to the values of slow living, and slow living doesn't mean live in the woods and have chickens and wear linen
off the grid.
Off the grid, no. It's just it's a way of being, and it's connecting with yourself and feeling slow inside, even if everything goes fast around you.
Maxime, thanks very much for your story, and you're going to hang around. We're going to have your one piece of advice for today's entrepreneur in a few moments. But first, our expert chat as usual. Let's get to it. And we're talking marketing right now, and cause marketing in particular, with a colleague of mine. Christopher Parry is a senior consultant at our firm, TNKR Media. And Chris has a lot of experience with cause marketing and marketing for causes, including the Humane Society Canada, where he was communications director for many years before joining us here at TNKR. Chris, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
So these days, as we've discussed on the show many times, the cause has to be part of your business model, right? I mean, if you're not doing some cause marketing as part of your marketing plan, you're behind, right? I mean, that's what we encourage people to do, is to incorporate it into your daily activities. Any quick tips as far as do's and don'ts of promoting causes, especially on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing about causes is that, especially when you're part of that cause, it can seem larger than life, but when you're sort of approaching it from a communications and marketing perspective, less is always more. And by that, I mean, you should be able to communicate your cause in 2-3 sentences at the most. The more complicated, the less likely you are to engage. Now, one big sort of do in the spectrum of do's and don'ts is you always want to provide the means or information for people to take action of some kind. Every post, if we're sort of, using social media as an example, should drive to something that lets the user feel like they are contributing in some meaningful way, be it a petition, a resource guide for consumers, an event that you're going to be sort of featured in. These, sort of communications assets, like a social media post that just sort of fall off a cliff, are not only not going to engage people, they may actually sort of drive people away from the cause because they find it, alienating, off-putting, they're unable to connect. And sort of one big don't that I would point out, you never really want to lead with doom and gloom unless absolutely necessary. Yes, you want people to understand the climate consequences of fast fashion, but you also want to highlight the good that sustainable fashion is doing to make the world a better place. As I like to say, make me care, not despair.
So it's interesting because I think cause marketing is probably quite clear for the nonprofit world, but I think in the last, I don't know how many years, but certainly recently, cause marketing has taken on a whole new approach in the for-profit world as we try to balance the generations and the bottom line, which at one point in life, bottom line was a very simple accountant calculation. Today, it's a very complex viewpoint on what are you doing in society and what else are you providing other than bottom line. How do you use cause marketing from a for-profit environment?
I've been doing a lot of writing lately on how, the pandemic, which is horrible and, everyone wishes it never happened, but how the pandemic has supercharged this type of thinking when it comes to incorporating causes into a for-profit environment. Clients and onlookers and I guess, people within the media sphere, they want to be able to connect and feel good about something that they're a part of, either as an employee or someone who supports this brand, and there's a greater impetus than ever for profit, as well as, not for profit, but for profit, to show that they have values that are in line with, the sort of, the general sort of culture, what matters in that moment. And so much of it comes down to awareness and listening and empathy. It's not just about, throwing a dart at a dartboard and saying, okay, this is what we care about. Give us our greenwashing certificate, please. You need to be keenly and consciously in that now moment. And that requires a greater sort of impetus towards being connected at all levels, and I've never really seen this type of, I guess, effort put into being engaged. It's really a question of survival now for the for-profit sector, and frankly, I think it's a change that we can all embrace.
Yeah, it definitely is something that needs to change. I mean, the pendulum, like everything, swings from one side to the other. My fear in some of this lies in, jumping on a bandwagon for a cause that is not necessarily close to your heart, but rather makes a really good marketing story. And you guys are working with clients directly. I mean, how do you weed out the fact that somebody might be going nudge nudge wink wink, I want to do cause marketing, as opposed to saying, where are your values? What is it you're bringing to the table?
One thing I just want to point out right off the bat is that, you really need to give people credit for the information they consume and how they parse that information. If you are disingenuous, it is going to come across immediately, no matter how we spin it, no matter how we package it. Really, like all of our client relations begin with a very simple and sincere conversation. A lot of that, a lot of how we intuit, what cause may be a good match for what brand or client comes down to, clear and concise communication of ideas. If that client cannot convey in a compelling way why we should care about what they're telling us about, you have to ask yourself if you're really doing your brand or business any good by trying to embrace something that you don't even believe in.
Altruistic integrity, I guess, right? Is that it?
Exactly. And sort of once we've established a communications plan, there are various assets that really sort of lend themselves towards, not only incorporating causes into a business, but really building them in a meaningful and sort of grassroots way. One of the ways of going about this is newsletters. It may sort of sound antiquated, but it's really a timeless tool. See, the thing about causes is that they're not static events. They're ever evolving, they're fluid, changing every day. We've all heard the saying, don't miss the forest for the trees. Well, when we work in a movement, it's easy to lose sight of how much is going on at once. If the challenge of finding support for causes is keeping people engaged throughout the life cycle of that cause, then it's important to keep customers, members, donors, whoever, as updated as possible without overdoing it. So it's really about more than just information sharing. It's about fostering a sense of inclusion.
Thanks very much, Chris. Christopher Paré, TNKR Media, my colleague and senior consultant there. Very well done. And Mike, I have to say, it's the infrastructure, it's staying on top of it, but also making a long-term commitment and staying on top of the cause and making sure you're just on top of everything about it and truly being a leader.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, the flavor of the day kind of approach to this is very difficult. I mean, if you choose to jump on a cause that you're going to change again in 6 months, so do it personally. Do it don't do it under the guise of the organization, because you cannot have people behind you buying in and committing if you're constantly changing what is important to the organization and what causes. And it's a very difficult environment, especially the bigger the group you are. You know, if you've got multi-generational environments, you have people that see the world in a very different light, and it's very difficult to try and find that equal balance that ultimately creates an awareness of the organization versus an individual perspective.
As we come to the close of our show, let's turn to Maxime Morin, head of Rose Buddha, founder of Rose Buddha clothing line, and ask her for her one piece of advice for today's entrepreneur. Maxime.
My piece of advice would be find your difference, know your difference, and stay close to your values. It's possible to do business and be true to yourself and your values.
Amazing. Thanks very much, Maxime. And speaking of work-life balance, my dog just woke up. She's been on my lap the entire show, by the way. That's my work-life balance. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much, Maxime.
Don't forget to catch up at today'sentrepreneur.org. Subscribe on iHeartRadio, iTunes, or your favorite platform, and listen to hundreds of local entrepreneur stories. We'll see you back here next week.
This has been a production of TNKR Media. Good talk.